Okay, guys, something different this season. Not playing a Manchester club this time, it's Real Madrid, but we're back to back champions. We deserve to be here. We've been great this entire European season. Real Madrid, very successful in this competition. But if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best, and it's our era, boys. Come on, let's make it 3 in a row. Let's go.
Looking for trouble and fights, but you found me. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on, someone to rely on. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I could be someone to rely on, someone to rely on, someone to rely on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 187 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. And coming up in today's episode, it is the 2037 Champions League final, and we are taking on Real Madrid. Before then, as well, we are going to do our European end of season roundup. So if you are looking forward to our 5th straight Champions League final, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But before we do get into a preview of this Champions League final, we did get here by beating Manchester United, our old foe, in the semi-final yesterday. If you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to that one over in the top right corner. But before then, we are going to do our end of European season roundup. But even before then, a quick little update on what we have been up to off the back of that win in yesterday's episode, or should I say those wins, especially that very good one in the second leg by a scoreline of 4-1. We have kicked off the domestic league season with 4 games, our best 11 before this Champions League final. Did play the games there against KA and Akrones and picked up some very comfortable wins there. So we do come into this final in good form off the back of 6-0 and 8-0 wins. Now, rotated team did play in the other 2 games against Vikingur and Keflavik, picking up 6-1 and 4-0 wins in our favour as well. So we've started off the league season here in Iceland very well on 12 points, alongside the Europa League quarterfinalists there in HK, who have also started off the season unbeaten. Looks like early doors it might be a battle between us two here in Iceland this upcoming season for the league title and that automatic group stage spot in the Champions League for what will be the 2038-39 season. But it is time for us to do our end of European season roundup, and first off, we are going to start off with who has won the lower UEFA competitions. And we start off with the Conference League. Of course, we did have Nuts KR in the group stages of this competition this season, but it was Newcastle who have picked this up for the second time in 3 years off the back of a 2-0 win there against Final. A quick little update on what did happen to those teams who were in the group with our fellow Icelandic team there in the Conference League. The first of those was Maccabi Haifa. They were the second qualifiers out of that group, which Nuts KR were in. They did finish third in that group, I think, from memory. They got through that first knockout round tie against Malmo by a scoreline of 4-2. You go through to the second knockout round. Maccabi Haifa got bumped out there by Dynamo Moscow, but the team who did top that group, which Nuts KR were in Kurga, they got past Qualabag there by a narrow scoreline in that second knockout round. And they also actually made their way through to the semi-finals, defeating Chavez by a scoreline of 3-2. So not bad work there from the Danish side, who were in Nuts KR's group, but then in the semi-final, they got absolutely pumped there by the eventual winners in Newcastle by 12-0 on aggregates. Not too bad a work there from the teams who did get out of the group, which Nuts KR did finish third in, but it is Newcastle United who have picked up the Conference League. And we go up now to the Europa League. Of course, we kept a big eye on this one, with HK making their way all the way through to the quarterfinals, where they were defeated by Leicester City, and in the end, Leicester made it all the way through to the final before being defeated by Real Sociedad by a scoreline there of 2-1. So Leicester City can't quite match what they did back in 2030-31, back to the semi-finals, and Leicester City, they got past Valencia off the back of that win against HK by a scoreline of 4-0. HK might have been in with a shot there if they did play Valencia, but Real Sociedad might have been one step too far. But certainly some very encouraging signs this past Europa League season there by our fellow Icelandic team, and the team who so far are unbeaten to start off the domestic league season as well, and HK making the quarterfinals, as I said a few episodes ago. Definitely the most help we've had so far in this save on the coefficient table, and you'll be able to tell that when we do reveal how well we have done on that table at the end of today's episode, and of course up to the Champions League. And we are about to take on Real Madrid here and try and make it a third straight Champions League title. But now it's time for us to have a look at the results around Europe. We're actually going to start off with a look at the Turkish league this time around, because someone in the comments of yesterday's video did ask me to have a look at what's been happening in Turkey this past season. Galatasaray have picked up that title by 13 points. Besiktas have finished in second and will also be in Champions League qualifying for next season. Trabzonspor third, and in fourth and fifth, and in Conference League spots it is Göztepe and Fenerbahce. Denizlispor, Bandırmaspor and Kayserispor are the teams who have been relegated. And in terms of the cup in Turkey, that was also won by Galatasaray by a scoreline of 3-2 over Besiktas. There's that quick little wrap up of Turkey, but now time to move up to the top 5 leagues. And we do start off with Ligue 1, and PSG have picked this up very comfortably by 17 points over Lille, and Montpellier are the third team who will be in the Champions League next season. It is Ajaccio who are going to be in the Europa League alongside Saint Etienne all the way down in 13th. They will also be in Europa League next season. That must mean that they have won the Coupe de France, and Monaco will be in the Conference League. At the moment, Strasbourg and Dijon are the teams who are getting relegated, and Angers do look like they are going to stay up currently. They lead the playoff there over Châteauroux 2-1 after the first leg. We now make our way up to the Bundesliga. At the moment, it is Offenbach who have just got the job done there over Stuttgart in the playoff, and that does mean that Stuttgart are going to be relegated alongside Mainz and Bochum. But this time, Hertha Berlin are the champions of Germany. I think that's the first time that has happened in this save. 8 points clear of RB Leipzig, and Bayern Munich could only manage a draw there on points for third spot with Cologne, albeit they do beat them out into that spot on goal differential. But those 4 teams are going to be in the Champions League next season. Dortmund and Gladbach will be in the Europa League, and Bayer Leverkusen in the Conference League. So a little bit of a surprise there in Germany. Bayern Munich only managing to finish third this past season. Up to City, AC Milan have picked this up over Juventus by 5 points. Inter Milan and Hellas Verona are the other teams who will be playing in the Champions League next season. Udinese and Napoli in the Europa League, and Bologna in the Conference League. And going down a bit further, it is Empoli, Parma and Torino who have been relegated. Next up, it is La Liga. In fact, we might just skip over that briefly, because of course this time we are playing a La Liga team in the Champions League final, but it is now the Premier League. Manchester United have just done enough there to pit Manchester City for that title. I think it might have even been decided on goal differential, because they both ended up on 93 points. But yet again, Man United have won the Premier League. Chelsea were in front for a long way, but in the end they somewhat bottle things there and end up 3 points behind the 2 Manchester clubs. And Arsenal round out the teams who will be in the Champions League next season. Newcastle and Liverpool in the Europa League, and Leicester City are going to be in the Conference League. Bristol Rovers, Reading, and if we go down just a little bit further, Leeds United are getting relegated to the Championship. And now it's time for us to just make our way back down slightly, because the winners of La Liga very, very comfortably were today's opposition in the Champions League final in Real Madrid. They picked up 99 points. So based on that, they're going to be very, very tough opposition here, and they beat Barcelona by 15 points. Valencia and Sevilla are in the Champions League, but also Real Sociedad are as well, of course, off the back of their win in that Europa League final. Atletico Madrid back in Europe, they are in the Europa League, and Alaves are going to be in the Conference League. And the teams getting relegated are Espanyol, Real Betis and Tenerife. That is what has happened across Europe this past season. And now it is time for us to have a bit of a look at today's opposition in Real Madrid. A quick update on what has happened the last few times we have played these guys. I mentioned it in yesterday's episode. The last time we played them was back in 2035. That was the first year we won the Champions League, and we got past them in the end. It was 4-1 on aggregate, being these guys 2-0 in the home league, and backing that up with a 2-1 win away at the Bernabeu. But a few years earlier in 2032, the first time that we did make the semi-finals of the Champions League, Real Madrid pretty much wiped the floor with us. They picked up a 4-1 win in Spain and backed that up with a 1-0 win those days. I think that would have been at the Laugadas Volus. So far, things have been shared quite evenly between the two clubs, but the last time that we played these guys, we did have the wood over them on our way to our first Champions League title, and hopefully we can repeat the dose here as we take them on in this one-off final. Very, very strong looking Real Madrid team, albeit it does look like there on screen they might have rotated their players for that most recent game in La Liga with that title having already been sewn up. A few players missing there, like Kylian Mbappe, as well as some other players down there like Tanguy Nianzou as well. Very good option at centre-backs. This is quite a strong Real Madrid team who are looking for their 15th Champions League title, while we are looking for our third, albeit our third in a row. And the other difference from when we have last played these guys in Champions League football is that Jurgen Klopp is no longer the manager these days. It is Abel Ferreira, and he has implemented that 5-2-3 tactic. But we are coming into this one with no injury concerns. Pedro Lemos has recovered from his injury, and that is quite good because we do have an extended bench for this Champions League final, so we can use him if we need to. But pretty much every player in our first and second 11 is available for this one. We'll come back shortly with the team sheets as we try and make it 3 straight Champions League, taking on Real Madrid. And here are the team sheets for this season's Champions League final. We are listed as the home team, pretty much the same lineup that we have used over the past few episodes. But as I mentioned, Pedro Lemos is back on the bench with it being extended. Real Madrid also come into this one in very good form, and it does look like they have all their big guns. It's a big heavyweight clash, this one, for the 2037 title. And only 3 minutes in, we have our first highlight of this final, and Real Madrid do have a throw in here inside our half. They play that back to Nianzou, but they are already camped inside our half. Nice ball played over the top there for Mbappe, gets a shot off, and it was a decent save there from Carl Vollen at his near post. We'll just see if anything comes from this subsequent corner, but thankfully Basaroge heads down to Adam Saki, and this could actually be a decent chance for us on the counter-attack. Can't quite slot through that player who is central, but starts to make his way out to the right-hand side. Lassana Doumbia tries to get a shot off, but they do deal with that. Do Real Madrid, albeit we do keep possession and might be able to launch another attack, albeit can't quite link up there with Lassana Doumbia. That's the first highlight. Still 0-0 after 6 minutes. And we've made our way forward now to the half-hour mark. Still no highlights there since that very opening one, which was a little bit topsy-turvy, but just a quick update on stats before I do update a few opposition instructions here so far. Very even game, but Real Madrid slightly better chances there based on their XG, even though we have been dominating possession quite well. But that's how things do look off the back of just the one highlight in the game so far. Still 0-0 after 30 minutes. And that is half time in this season's Champions League final. Just that one highlight in the first half, so a very quiet game so far. Real Madrid just having the slightly better run of things so far. In this one, we'll tell the boys it hasn't really been good enough so far. We haven't really threatened at all with no highlights in our favour, and hopefully we can improve. We are going to make one change here, I think, at half-time. A little bit risky, but Ali Ramadan at centre-back on a yellow card. I never like having centre-backs on yellow cards, so Richard Waswa will come on for him. Both of our wingers also not performing well at the moment, but we'll see how they go to start off this second half, and hopefully we can start to get on the front foot, 0-0, as we kick off the second 45 minutes of the season's Champions League final. And 10 minutes into the second half, we're going to make our second substitution already. Agatigre just got up high enough on a 6.5 rating, but Mizkic down to a 6.2. Christopher Alagab will come on for him. It's still 0-0 with about 35 minutes left. And we go forward now to the 63-minute mark. There's finally another highlight in this game, albeit it might be in favour of Real Madrid. Alagab will head that away, albeit only into the path of Mbappe. Camavinga's shot is blocked, and Kakpa Kozlowski is there to tuck that away after Wallen does commit to a save off the shot that was blocked. So that's a bit of a fortunate goal there for Real Madrid, albeit based on the few highlights that we have seen. They have been slightly the better team so far in this game. We're going to have to come from behind. You can see there, Vollen was a bit out of position off the back of that block shot, and just like that, easy tap-in for Kozlowski, and it's 1-0 Real Madrid. And shortly off the back of that, they do have another free kick here, which Kylian Mbappe is taking his time over, as you would expect, with them holding a 1-0 lead in this game. Now tries to put that top left corner, and that comes off the underside of the crossbar, so we do get away with that one. Agatigre can't get something going on the counter-attack. Still 1-0 to Real Madrid with only 20 minutes left. And we've gone forward a few minutes off the back of that flurry of highlights to Real Madrid. We're going to make our last substitution here. Agustin Agatire only going okay down to a red heart. Maurizio Menga will get some game time at right wing. And that's our last sub with 15 minutes left. And we're still 1-0 down. And we are inside the last 10 minutes of regular time in this Champions League final. And we do finally have a highlight here where we hopefully can hold on to the ball as we look to play out from the back here from a goal kick. We're not focusing down the middle these days and have also just widened our attack a little bit since the 80-minute mark. And hopefully that can help us. It's a nice ball out there for Menga off the bench. Crollo puts this one into the mixer, but they do deal with that. Do Real Madrid, but we do keep possession here right on the edge of the box, and Berger will play this to Bassero Gay. First time shot! Oh my God, that is one heck of a strike from Bassero Gay, baby. What a goal that is into the top right corner. That is something out of completely nothing, and that brings us back to life here in this season's Champions League final. First time finish from well outside the box, and you're not stopping that one right into that top right corner. And we might have just done enough to take this one to extra time as we do enter the last few minutes. That is something, as I said, pretty much out of nothing, because so far in this game, we have been pretty average as Radenko Crollo picks up a late yellow card there in normal time and is on a bit of an average rating. So that might be our substitution going into extra time. But Bassero Gay there has for now saved us anyway. We just do enough to take this game to extra time 1-1. After 90 minutes, we do have a few options on the bench. Of course, Pedro Lemos, just coming back from injury, is quite short on match sharpness. So what I think we'll do here is bring on Luis Herrera, and Jonathan Berger can go out to right back here for extra time, but that is our extra time sub used. And hopefully we can start to play a bit better off the back of that wonderful strike from Bassero Gay and try and close this one out before it goes to penalties 1-1 as we kick off extra time. And no highlights in that first half of extra time. Real Madrid certainly still on top of us here in terms of stats, but we're just starting to even things up a little bit more in terms of the shots and the shots on target as well. And with no more subs left to play, this is how things are going to stay as we are about to kick off the second half of extra time, locked up at 1-1 here in this Champions League final. And I've just made a few tactical adjustments here in the 109th minute, and there is a bit of a highlight starting off the back of that as we briefly get on the front foot. Real Madrid do clear that away, but so far this Champions League final hasn't had many highlights, so we'll just see what does come from this one as Alagard holds onto the ball here on the edge of the box. Gay back for Doumbia, gets a shot off, but that's a pretty safe save there for Hemmingson in the bottom right corner, and it is still 1-1 with only 10 minutes left of extra time. And about to enter the last few minutes of this extra time period, we are starting to up the tempo and also our passing directness as well to see if anything does come late in this one. As you can see, we are still trying to inch away there at the stats, which are so far in Real Madrid's favour in this final, but this one is going to penalties. So we'll just organise our order here and hopefully we can hold our nerve from the spot and pick up our third straight Champions League title. And there is the order for this penalty shootout that we are about to take part in. Hopefully this goes like the second one that we had against Man United, which we won, and not the first one that we had 3 years ago where we missed all 3 of our penalties and Man United did convert all 3 of theirs. But the order is pretty self-explanatory there when you do look at the penalty ratings as well as the positions of those players who are quite good at penalties as well. It does look like quite a well-ordered penalty shootout there, and if we do go to a 6 penalty taker, we do have Bassero Gay fresh off the back of that magnificent goal, which was enough for this game to go to extra time. But I think we might actually try and put a little bit of pressure on the boys here and tell them that this is their chance to be heroes, make sure they have no regrets. We did practice penalties in the lead up to this Champions League final, so hopefully that bears some dividends here in this upcoming shootout. But everyone comes into this one quite motivated, and we are first up being the home team, and Adam Saki gets the first chance. What can the Ballon d'Or winner do? It's Hemmingson with the save there. He went for that bottom right corner, and that is a dreadful start, albeit it won't be so bad if we can save this one from Kylian Mbappe. Wallen goes the right way. It finds that bottom right corner, and already we are in a little bit of trouble here in this shootout. Hopefully Lassana Doumbia can try and keep us alive in this one. He goes straight down the middle, and it's another save there from Hemmingson. And I'm starting to get flashbacks from that final 3 years ago against Man United where Joe Corcoran just ruined us. Nemeth there, Carl Vollen doesn't even bother to make a save. And just like that, we are already in pretty much must-score territory. And it is Benvenu Bayer here from the spot. It's another really good save there from Hemmingson. In fact, that one's actually come off the post. We didn't even hit the target. And just like that, here's a chance here for Tanguy Nianzou to wrap up this Champions League final for Real Madrid. Could our time as European champions be coming to an end? Nianzou steps up and Volany sends him the wrong way, top right corner. And it's a dead set repeat from a few years ago, the first time he played Man United in a Champions League final. That is a gutting way to lose it. And we do not score any of our penalties. Real Madrid score all three of theirs, one of the shortest penalty shootouts that you will see. And Real Madrid once again are the champions of Europe for a 15th time, and after 2 good years, we bow out as the champions of Europe there in the final off the back of a 1-1 draw thanks to that wonderful strike from Basaroge late in regular time. But in the end, we didn't really play that well in those 90 minutes plus extra time, and that only carried on into the penalty shootout. So our time as European champions has come to an end off the back of a pretty average penalty shootout there. Real Madrid pick up the title here in 2037. Quite a few of our players not performing as well as they are capable of, as you can tell by those substitutions which we did make, and we are no longer the champions of Europe. Real Madrid pick up the title for 2037. And back in the inbox straight off the back of that penalty shootout, which went horribly wrong, exactly like what happened a few years ago against Manchester United, but thankfully not quite as upset this time because, of course, we have won 2 Champions Leagues since then, so it is not the end of the world, albeit I was quietly confident going into that one because we have been very, very good up until that point this Champions League season. But I definitely think we're pretty hard to get past in 2-legged ties. We usually show up for 1 leg at the very least and outplay a team, but just in these one-off games, we can sometimes get caught out, and that was the case again. We get 13.25 million there for making the Champions League final, go up a little bit further, get 867,000 from TV rights, and also 25.5 million there from the coefficient ranking pool money. And while we are talking about the coefficient, we'll do a bit of an update on that at the end of this 2036-37 season. We are still pretty solid there in 7th. Aren't going to be overtaking Portugal for a while yet, but also are quite safe there in that 7th spot. But you can see we were on a 47.9 going into this season. Portugal on a 54.25. We have closed that gap a little bit. So if we can keep on having seasons like this one, where teams like HK do help us out, even if we don't win the Champions League, we should eventually start to pull a little bit closer to getting past Portugal, which might be the best that we can hope for in this save before the release of FM23, which usually happens with a beta around about October and the full game in November. But that is the best season we've had so far in this save on the coefficient table, getting rid of a 9.5 and picking up an 11.6, despite the fact that, unlike the last 2 years, we have not picked up the Champions League title. And going forward a few more days off the back of that final, we do have some European Champions League awards here for this past season. Adam Saki only this season finished 2nd in the Golden Boot race, 6 goals behind Yusufa Makoko from the eventual winners there in Real Madrid. But we did have 2 players there in the dream team, Carl Vollen in goal and Lassana Doumbia in the midfield. Apart from that, it's pretty much a Real Madrid whitewash alongside Bloman up front for Manchester United. And as well as that, Carl Vollen, he picked up goalkeeper of the season over the Real Madrid goalkeeper there, who did a pretty darn good job in that penalty shootout. Filippo Donelli was 2nd in the defender of the season. We've got Lassana Doumbia, who was 2nd in midfielder of the season, and Adam Saki was ranked 3rd in terms of the striker of the season for this past Champions League campaign. But that will do it for this 2036-37 European season here on the channel. A little bit of penalty shootout heartbreak yet again, and we are no longer the champions of Europe. Will come back at the start of next week. It won't be too much further in the future because there's something else we actually have to defend, which we haven't had to defend for a while, and that is the Club World Cup. We are going to try and keep hold of these little gold badges on our uniforms. Will come back at the start of next week and have a few episodes where we try and hold on to our crown as the FIFA Club World Cup champions. And off the back of that, we will get back into the swing of things in the next Champions League season. As well as that, if anything does happen transfer-wise, I will update you guys on that. We don't have too much more money available to us off the back of signings off the next gen list and whatnot. Over the past few episodes during this week, we have around about 11 million left. But if an offer came in for the right player, the players I'd probably consider selling at this point of the save, probably someone like Onya Mizkic. He was a bit disappointing in the latter stages there of the Champions League. If we can do an upgrade on him for a fair deal, we might look at doing something like that. But I think that might be the only position in this team which I might actively look to try and improve, because apart from that, I am pretty happy with the depth that we do have here at Volsungur. But that's what's coming up at the start of next week. If we have any transfer updates, I'll bring those to you guys. And as well as that, we will try and hold on to that Club World Cup. Not too sure who we have in our group yet. We'll find that out when we come back on Monday. Of course, if you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. But until next week, as I said, for that FIFA Club World Cup, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.